showstopper. More shampoo, number one club popper. Got a hangover like too much vodka. Can't see me with 10 binoculars. So cool, no doubt by the end of the night. Got the clothes coming off, then I make that move. Somehow, some way, gotta raise the roof. All black shades when the sun come through. It's on like everything goes. Wild out, baby, to the freak it shows. What happens to that body is a private show. Stays right here, private show. I like a mundane, don't come in high pain. Tolerance bottoms up when it's champagne. My life from Muhammad, then we hit Spain. We easy with you, Dale, we get insane.
Hey, I heard you were a wild one. Ooh, if I took you home and be your home run. Show me.
And what's going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for another retro WrestleMania review. We now take a look back at WrestleMania 28, the year where Once in a Lifetime happened, and End of an Era happened, as well as a few other events we'll discuss as well. This WrestleMania was the first WrestleMania that I didn't see when it actually happened, that I watched. Got back in time to watch, because it was before I got the network, and my friend Daniel Gaiza gave me a DVD of WrestleMania 28 that he had extra and he didn't need anymore since he got the network before I did, and I watched it, and I really liked it. And watching it again, I still liked it. It's definitely not the best WrestleMania of all time, but it's definitely, I'd say, one of my favorites to go back and watch, and I was excited to watch this WrestleMania again, and again, I didn't see it disappoint. Now, I know that knowing the history of what happens afterwards, after this WrestleMania, does kind of at times lower the standards a little bit from this WrestleMania, but I'm not going to really talk about that until I get to next year's WrestleMania. But still, I can't deny that this is definitely a pretty strong show, and one of my favorite WrestleManias to watch, I gotta say. So let's get right into it. This WrestleMania took place on April 1st, 2012 at Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida, home of The Rock, which we see him later on tonight. The show opened up with the famous World Heavyweight Championship match. It was a champion, Daniel Bryan, with AJ Lee in his corner, taking on the winner of the 2012 Royal Rumble, Sheamus, the Great White. Now, how this match went? I'll tell you how it went. The bell rings. Bryan says, wait, because, he is the champion who's full of himself, and he gets a kiss from AJ for good luck, turns around, eats a bro kick, 1, 2, 3, Daniel Bryan loses the title in 18 seconds, just like that. And, yeah, I'm sure at the time, if I would have been watching this live, I would have been pissed. But, now that I, know Daniel Bryan and go back to see this made Daniel Bryan. This was the start of Daniel Bryan rising to the top, becoming the popular person he was. Because as he said in his documentary, he wasn't supposed to win the Money in the Bank briefcase in 2011. They were planning on giving it to Wade Barrett. But then since they were giving Alberto Del Rio the Raw briefcase, they thought having, two similar villains win both briefcases wouldn't be a good idea. So they're debating either Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, or Cody Rhodes win the SmackDown briefcase. They gave it to Daniel Bryan, but as Daniel Bryan would say, wah, wah. He wasn't really built up too strong as Mr. Money in the Bank. There was a moment where at the Vengeance pay-per-view 2011, where Big Show and Mark Henry did that suplex with the ring collapse, and people thought that Bryan would come out there and cash in on them, but they didn't bring Bryan to the pay-per-view. He wasn't there. But then Bryan did eventually cash in at TLC after Henry knocked out the Big Show, after Big Show had just beat him in a terrible chairs match. And then he won there, and he had a match with Big Show and Mark Henry. And then he had a match at Elimination Chamber. He was just like a little sneaky little idiot who just was sneaking the wins by and was just so full of himself to win the World Heavyweight Champion. And this is also around the time where the Yes Chance started. He said he started it because he was told that he won the Super Bowl when he won the World Heavyweight Championship, and it just connected with the crowd. People were mad that Daniel Bryan had just lost that. People hated Sheamus for the way he beat Bryan for a championship, even though Sheamus was being pushed as one of the top baby faces in the company around this time. So yeah, even the next night on Raw, I believe he wasn't on the show, but he was in a dark match after the show, and people were just going nuts for him. They hijacked Raw pretty much, chanting yes, because hey, this guy's not so bad. He's actually pretty good. And then next month at Extreme Rules, a classic 2 out of 3 falls match between these two. I've seen it before. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's probably a great. This match could have been at WrestleMania. It could have even upped the scale on this even more. But again, this match made Daniel Bryan. You may hate it at first if you don't know the future of Daniel Bryan, but I find it acceptable for what it was. Sheamus is the new world champion. He would go on to be the world heavyweight champion until I think Hell in a Cell, where he dropped it to the Big Show, I believe. Which that run as world heavyweight champion wasn't too bad for Sheamus, but his rest of his WWE championship runs when he was a heel weren't too good. But Sheamus got the run with the world title. Moving on to this match, it was Kane against Randy Orton. I forgot the reason why they were feuding is this was right after Kane got over that feud with John Cena about embracing the hate, and then he feuded with Randy Orton because he claims that when he shook his hand in a street fight from last July, he said he felt weak and showed he was weak and human, and then he disappeared for a few months, and then he feuded with Cena, and now he's all of a sudden getting back at Orton about this. Strange storytelling. The match was decent, wasn't anything to write home about, but the ending was kind of cool with seeing Kane hit a monster choke slam off of Randy Orton for the victory. This was kind of building up to what would happen later in the year with Kane and Daniel Bryan coming up together for Team Hell No. So it kind of started to build towards that. So I can't really completely hate on this match completely, but it was average, decent, whatnot. It was okay. It was acceptable. Then we had this match. It was the Intercontinental Championship match. It was a champion, Cody Rhodes, going into this WrestleMania, have a champion for 233 days, taking on the Big Show. With the year that Cody Rhodes had just been having, really making that Intercontinental title feel very relevant and being a strong mid-card champion, this was showing that Cody Rhodes was ready to be a world champion. And then they put him against the Big Show, of all people, to give him I don't know who else he would have faced, but I thought they could give him a better opponent. The match they had was okay, but the story here was Cody Rhodes just mocking the Big Show for not having any good WrestleMania moments. All the crap they made him done at WrestleMania in his whole career. Going into this match, the Big Show was 3-8 at WrestleMania. And they show a bunch of highlights. I'm trying to remember what all he did besides him being in that sumo match. Oh gosh. But and a bunch of other worthless little things, going through the wall and one of the hardcore matches with Kane, and I can't remember, there was someone else in that match too. I remember watching that match. But this was just to make up for all that. Again, the match was all right, but Cody Rhodes was the one who had the momentum going. He could have used the big win here because last year he got one against Rey Mysterio, but again, as I said last year, it was a good match, but it wasn't a match that really felt WrestleMania worthy. It was your feud over, a broken nose. Didn't feel like a feud that was really built up well for good enough to be a WrestleMania match. A pay-per-view, sure, but WrestleMania match, nah. Big Show wins the Intercontinental title off of Cody, but of course Cody would win the title right back at Extreme Rules the next month because Big Show slipped on the apron and his foot went through the table, and that's how he lost the match. That's how Cody Rhodes got his Intercontinental title back. Could have been a better opponent. I think Cody faced Booker T at TLC in 2011. That would have been good for WrestleMania if they would have, just waited till WrestleMania. Have Big Show and Cody then. But, again, it didn't really quite feel like a match worthy for WrestleMania. Again, Big Show got his WrestleMania moment with an Intercontinental title, but it was short-lived. Then he would turn heel later in the year, later that summer, with the whole thing with John Laurinaitis. Whatever. But then things didn't get too much better, though. The first half of the show was all right. We had some down points, but it was passable, but it wasn't really that great. The second half was awesome, though. We had this match. It was a Divas tag match because we can't defend the Divas Championship at WrestleMania because Divas mean nothing around this time. Ever since the PG era started, as I kept saying, it seemed like that's when women's wrestling went down. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily when the PG era started. I'd say whenever Trish and Lita left. Like Beth Phoenix and Mickie James, Mickey's future Hall of Famer. Beth's a Hall of Famer right now, but I wish she would have had a better WrestleMania moment than she did. She never had any good WrestleMania. Because this was Beth Phoenix's and Kelly's last WrestleMania. And I believe Eve's also. But it was a tag match. It was Maria Menounos and Kelly taking on the champion, Beth Phoenix and Eve Taurus. Eve Taurus was going through a heel turn as, she was Zack Ryder's girlfriend earlier this year. The whole embrace the hate thing. But then, of course, she would make out with Cena in front of Ryder after Ryder got destroyed by Kane. This is also the burial of Zack Ryder. And then she pretty much admitted just using them to further their careers. And then she does something else later on tonight. But we'll get to that shortly. But the match, again, just a standard Divas match. It only got like a couple minutes. Didn't give them time to do anything at all whatsoever. Kelly and Maria Menounos win the match. Other than that, there really wasn't anything more special to write home about for this match. Now, let's talk about the match of the night. This match is one match that I love to go back and watch constantly just for the heck of it, because it's awesome. The story being told and whatnot, it all goes back to what we have talked about for the past couple of years with the two guys that I believe, before Brock Lesnar did WrestleMania 30, the two guys that I believe were the closest to beating The Undertaker. And this match was pretty much both of them going up him, because one was a special guest referee, the other one was his actual opponent. So last year, The Undertaker faced Triple H. And as I said, despite, having one of the greatest matches of all time with Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25, they worked very well together. Physically, I felt Triple H was the closest one to defeat the streak. And Undertaker didn't feel satisfied with his victory. He felt that, he may have won the battle, but he lost the war. That's what his mindset was. He returned right after the Royal Rumble and wanted to challenge Triple H to a match. But Triple H said, no, I can't do this. But then Undertaker went as far as cutting his hair short. He called Triple H a coward, saying your friend Shawn Michaels couldn't do it either, which pushed Triple H over the edge. And then he finally did the match and revealed that HBK was going to be a special guest referee. So now HBK is like, oh, I couldn't defeat the streak, but now I have that power in the palm of my hands to do so. And usually, whenever Shawn Michaels has been in a special guest referee for Triple H matches in the past, it's had a little bit of a more odds for Triple H winning the match. The match was inside Hell in a Cell, end of an era. As it was supposed to be the end of the era. I mean, it was kind of like these guys at least going their separate ways, but it wasn't everyone's last match or whatnot. Like Triple H and Undertaker did go on to have more matches. Of course, Shawn Michaels didn't, but it was kind of to me, it felt like, the wrap up of, the Attitude Era. It's we're all moving on to different things now, whatnot. Triple H, this is his third match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He faced him at WrestleMania 17 and 27, and now this match. Despite the fact the cell wasn't used too much, Hell in a Cell, but the whole concept being just a big match inside, Taker's den pretty much, it was awesome. Another physical match, a little emotional match too, because Shawn Michaels was stuck in the middle. He could have ended the streak right there, helping Triple H do it. They could both do it together, or he can just call the match down the middle. He was going through a lot of things. The near falls in this match were just insane. The story being told there was amazing. This is one of the best matches that it was more focused on the story than the wrestling, besides it all being physical. My favorite near fall, though, was the one where, here and there you hear Triple H saying, come on, pretty much just saying, he wants them to, help and win this match. He had used a sledgehammer on him a few times. I think Taker used a sledgehammer on him too. My favorite moment, though, in this match was when HBK super sweet chin music on Undertaker into Triple H, then hitting with a pedigree. I'm like, the first time I saw the match, I'm like, that's gotta be it. I mean, I knew the streak wasn't over, but I'm like, this has gotta be it here. Something's gonna be happening here. And when Taker kicked out, I'm like, what? Shawn Michaels even couldn't believe it. It was one of the biggest, shocking kickouts I have ever seen. I was amazed. And then I think Triple H kicked out of a tombstone and whatnot. There was a time where Shawn Michaels was knocked out, so Charles Robinson came out, but they got him out of the way. It was just another war. Again, the cell wasn't used too much. Some weapons, but not a heck of a lot. But just the atmosphere felt like it was inside Hell in a Cell. And it was just a great match. Taker would win afterwards, Taker helps, HBK helps up Taker, and they help up Triple H. They walk out together, just showing a sign of respect, marking the end of an era. Guys who pretty much, were some of the main figures of the Attitude Era, and even the Ruthless Aggression Era. It was like the last time we'd see all three of them together, and they went on their separate ways. I know this could have symbolized as well, maybe each of them having their last match, but that's not the case, as we see more happening down the line, which most of it not too bad, but we'll get to it in the last couple WrestleManias. But again, an awesome match, one of my favorite matches to watch of all time. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch it, please. That was that. And good thing, because that match could have really burned out the crowd. But we got a nice breather before we got to our our WWE Championship match and our great main event that we had as well. The next match, it was kind of a breather match. It was Team Johnny versus Team Teddy. Pretty much the winner was because 2011. I forgot to mention this in my WrestleMania 27 review. 2011 was the last year of the brand split. It was dropped, I think, right at the end of the summer. And Raw was called Raw Super Show, and that's when SmackDown became just like a recap show, kind of pointless. So this time we had, my name is Mr. John Laurinaitis. I'm the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and the Interim Manager of Monday Night Raw. He wanted to become a permanent general manager of both Raw and SmackDown. And Teddy Long, who was a general manager for SmackDown, he wanted to be the general manager for both shows as well. So this match, looking at it, I'm like, these teams are crush. Raw had guys like, The Miz, Mark Henry, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre. I can't remember, but a lot of the more established talents. SmackDown had R-Truth, The Great Khali, Zack Ryder, Kofi Kingston. Some of the not as established talents on that team. It was pretty obvious that Team Johnny was going to win. The teams were absolute crush. The match was average. The match ended, though, whenever it was Zack Ryder was about to hit the broski boot on The Miz. But then Taurus came in there pretty much trying to, root him on with them. And then pretty much caused a distraction. And Zack Ryder lost thanks to The Miz, who was second year in a row, got a big win because he won the main event at WrestleMania 27, which that main event sucked. Team Johnny wins. We know John Laurinaitis goes on to be general manager for both Raw and SmackDown. At that point, both shows, it was one was good, the other one sucked. Well, 2012 was an up and down year also, but the fact of having just all superstars on both shows made one look kind of pointless. They could have just canceled one of them for all I care. After the match, Eve tried to say it's okay, it's my fault, I shouldn't have gotten involved, but then she kicks Zack Ryder where it really hurts and walks out. And this would then lead to, I got the title up here, Taurus, who was just using people just to further her career. She became the executive administrator to John Laurinaitis. So kind of like her his personal assistant or whatnot. So yeah, just use people to further her career. So that happened. Again, the match was what it was, whatever. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't great either. I love this match. The WWE Championship match between the best in the world, CM Punk, against the best in the world, what he does, Chris Jericho. Story was simple. Basically, Chris Jericho called CM Punk a copycat of him. CM Punk thinks that Chris Jericho is jealous of him because, Jericho has had a great career, but he's never was the top guy that, CM Punk had become. This is still before the halfway point of CM Punk's 434-day title run. And I just love this story. Jericho is such a jerk who did everything he could to piss off Punk. Talking about his history with his family, how his father is an alcoholic. Your sister, she's just some substance abuse as well. Your birthday was after your parents got married after your birthday. So that makes you the legal definition of a bastard. I just like the way he said that. And then since John Laurinaitis had just won, just became general manager for both Raw and SmackDown, he came up to Punk, and him and Punk had their differences, and he said, I know you want to just beat the crap out of him, but I want a wrestling match, not a fight. So I'm going to add a stipulation. If you get disqualified, you're going to lose your championship. And Jericho the match was a little slow at times, and I wish Jericho would have done this a little bit more, but it was maybe just in the first half. But the story was Jericho avoiding the Anaconda Vice because he knew he couldn't escape out of that. But I just loved Jericho just toying with Punk, doing whatever he can to piss him off, saying, "Hey, Punk, how's your father?" Or my favorite was when he like threw in a chair in the ring, and he's like, "Hit me in the Punk, hit me in the head, Punk, hit me in the head, Punk. Your father's a drug, Punk. Your father's a drug. Your sister's a drug addict." Just doing anything he can to piss off Punk. I'm like, this is Jericho. This is classic Jericho, just being just a great heel he can be when he's a heel. Of course, he would then go on 4 years later to create this thing, which this didn't exist around the time. Could you imagine Jericho doing that and having the list of Jericho around the same time? I wonder what would happen. Like Jericho, this list I always keep saying needs to go into the Hall of Fame someday. Punk wins the match, though, getting Jericho to tap out to the Anaconda Vice. They do have one more match the following month in Chicago, in a Chicago street fight. That match was pretty awesome. Also, I gotta say, check that out also if you can. Again, I was more so focusing on Punk being straight edge and not drinking or anything. But yeah. So that was that match. It was awesome. And then we get to the main event. Well, before that, we have Brodus Clay and the Funkadactyls coming out dancing with grandmothers. Anyways, the main event. Once in a lifetime, The Rock hit the cement! What The Rock is cooking! Taking on Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect, coming out looking like a big fat bowl of Fruity Pebbles, John Cena. The year-long build after, The Rock came back after being gone for 7 years to host WrestleMania 27, and him and John Cena traded back for some verbal insults, making it obvious they don't like each other. But they're two icons of their generation, of their eras. So then, after The Rock costed him the title at WrestleMania 27, Cena challenged him to a match. They had a year-long build. The Rock did team up with John Cena at Survivor Series, take on The Miz and R-Truth, even though it was, it was like a really bipolar tag team. They were just trying to outdo each other. The only time they really put hands on each other was when The Rock hit Cena with the Rock Bottom after they won their match at Survivor Series. Leading to this epic showdown. And this match was fun. It was probably not a classic, but it was close to a classic. It was just awesome, these two guys in the main event in Rock's hometown of Miami, Florida. I just like the story being told here. And Cena was showing some heelish moves in here. I mean, so was The Rock, but Cena did too as well. I like the end. I love the ending though of this match, where Cena, it's like karma bites back pretty much. Cena decides to mock The Rock. It's just making fun of him for going off and to Hollywood and just doing that, while Cena was there, being the guy pretty much. He threw out his armbands. He's about to mock The Rock and do the people's elbow. He hops one side, hops the next. Turns around, runs right into The Rock, who he had kicked out of AA and a Rock Bottom earlier. Rock hits Cena with the Rock Bottom, the second one of the match, to get the victory. Everyone went nuts. Of course, they were in Miami. John Cena sat up on the ramp in disbelief. This would lead to what I felt was the biggest missed opportunity to turn John Cena heel. And I will talk about that more when we get into WrestleMania 29 next year. But the match was awesome. I'm sure everyone who, because this was Cena, is Cena really that immortal facing a guy like The Rock, who, was the guy for his era? Well, it was him and Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you want to put it that way also, as the top guys in the company. Well, HBK around also, but Rock and Stone Cold were stealing the show whenever HBK was on his few-year hiatus. But yeah, an awesome ending. What it leads to, though, but again, for what this was awesome. And it closed out a good WrestleMania. I enjoyed it. Again, we had a couple little matches, Cody Rhodes and the Big Show, and then the Divas tag match. And even, the Team Johnny versus Team Teddy that were, all right, but not really that great. But this was a great show. That main event, the match with Punk and Jericho, and, of course, the match of the night, no doubt about it, was the end of an era Hell in a Cell match between Triple H and The Undertaker, with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. Awesome stuff. Again, I love this WrestleMania. It's one of my favorite ones to go back and watch. I'm giving it a B for a grade. What grade would you give WrestleMania 28? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And please be sure to click that like and subscribe for more content on this channel. And also follow me on Twitter at TheManAirboy93. Next up, WrestleMania 29. Now, despite this not being a good show, WrestleMania 29 holds a special place in my heart because that is the first ever WrestleMania I watched. And I wasn't a full-time WWE fan at the time. I watched it with some friends. And then I will talk about also, some of the things, especially the John Cena Cinderella story over the next year. I will talk about that in my WrestleMania 29 review. And this will be the first time I've watched WrestleMania 29 since I watched it that night, April 7th, 2013. I'll see you guys then. I'm the Club Man 1993. Have a good night.